I'm Director of Hospitality at the Precious Blood Renewal Center. And today we are going to be cooking up some Ossa di Morti. This is bones of the dead. And we're going to learn a little bit about what All Saints Day and All Souls Day, which is November 1st and 2nd, what it is about, and some of the traditions that I grew up with celebrating this in our Catholic home growing up. So All Saints Day is November 1st, and typically All Saints Day is a tradition that extends not only to Italy, but it extends to even Turkey and Lebanon and all different countries and cultures. It's just that we celebrate them differently. And some culinary traditions have, for All Saints Day, is where we celebrate all saints. So, for example, like Saint Teresa, Saint Gaspar de Buffalo, who's our patron saint here at the Precious Blood Renewal Center, Saint Joseph, Saint Lucia, which I'm Lucia. So there's different feast days also for saints. But on All Saints Day, it's a little bit special because we celebrate all the saints. And my mom would make even a chickpea soup with fava beans. Fava beans and chickpeas are very traditional in the Italian culture. They use it a lot in soups, but in particularly for feast days, because they say, for example, fava beans are used on St. Joseph's Day. They're used on All Saints Day because they say it brings good luck. So they would cook it and make it in a soup with carrots and potatoes and things like that. And also, when if you're named after a saint, then family members would, in some different regions, would exchange gifts or bring you gifts because you were named after a saint. And then we've got All Souls Day, which is kind of a prayer for the dead. It's a celebration of the dead. And like in Mexico, they call it Day of the Dead. But these traditions started many, many centuries ago. And even with All Souls Day, we have different traditions that happen. And one of those is going to the cemetery and bringing chrysanthemums. Yes, chrysanthemums. And you would bring candles, and that would be a time for you to decorate the grave and making sure that it's clean, and you kind of have like a little prayer service there in lighting the candles. And some traditions even go way back, is where people would sleep at the grave next to their loved one there that is gone. But another culinary tradition for All Souls Day is making this really delicious spiced cookie, which it's called Bones of the Dead. And so, and you kind of shape them into logs. It doesn't necessarily resemble, it's just a tradition. And throughout Italy, there's different ways of making them, and different ways, different ingredients that they kind of switch up a little bit. The other thing that is another customary thing is we leave at the dinner table during our feast for that day, we leave a space for our dead spirits, which we leave them wine and we leave them water, and then a place setting in hopes that they come back and have another dinner with us in spirit. And those are just some traditions. And also on All Souls Day, we always wake up at dawn and go to Mass. So that was the other big thing that happens on All Souls Day. But there are many, many countries, many, many cultures that celebrate it differently. I'm just sharing with you what I'm used to. So I'm going to start by telling you all the ingredients that go into the bones of the dead, okay? So let's begin with, you're going to take a 1/4 cup of orange juice, okay? Then you're going to have a 1/4 cup of butter at room temperature, okay? So you kind of want it to be a little bit soft, okay? Then you're just going to take, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 teaspoon of zest of orange, which I don't measure out, I just kind of figure it out, okay? Then we're going to have 1 egg, we're going to put in there. Then we're going to have 3 tablespoons of honey, okay? Then we're going to have 2 1/4 cup of flour. Then we're going to have 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Then we're going to have 1 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder, a pinch of salt, and then last but not least, we're going to add the goodies, which are raisins, 1/2 cup, and a 1/2 cup of chopped walnuts. Now, you can use the light colored raisins, you can use the dark colored raisins. Some traditions put in coconut. I don't put in coconut. I like to put in these mini semi-sweet chocolates just to give it a little sweetness to it. So, and again, it's all about a 1/2 cup each. So let's go, and we're going to start putting these bones together. So first you're gonna combine the wet ingredients first. So we have our orange juice. I'm gonna put in our egg in here. Just 1 egg. Okay. And then we're gonna have our 3 tablespoons of honey. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. Now, one thing I didn't mention that we do need to mention that's important is I want you to also preheat your oven at 350 because we're going to let these guys bake for 12 minutes when it's time, okay? So beat this in here, this egg and honey and juice, okay? Okay, now we're going to put the zest of orange. Like I said, we're just going to kind of it smells really good. If you like the taste of orange, put it in there. Remember, we have the orange juice too. Okay, so that should be about a 1/2 teaspoon. Okay, so got that. And then we're going to put in, well, there's some more honey in there. Just kind of get that goodness in there. Okay, so then we're going to take your cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Okay, and we're going to take the 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. Okay, we're going to do your little pinch of salt, which I'm just going to do this, and then we're going to throw some behind my shoulder for good luck. And let's see, then we're going to put 1 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. That'll help your cookies to rise. Okay. And then we're going to put our cocoa, which is 1 tablespoon of cocoa. Okay. Then I'm going to mix these together. Okay, and then we're going to finish off with your butter. And then the sugar. So we've got your butter in there, got your sugar, we've got our 2 1/4 cups of flour. Okay, and we're going to just combine all that, fold it together. As I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and dump my walnuts in there, my chocolate chips, okay, and then the raisins. Okay. So we are going to blend this all together. Got the butter in there. You guys, this is so good. It's really easy and quick, and it's just something that you can have with coffee or hot tea with your friends or family members to celebrate All Saints and All Souls Day. Back in the day, my mom used to tell me that they used to get school days off in the little village that she lived in. I mean, it was a big celebration, and also in the little villages they would have parades. So they, like on All Saints Day, they would, and All Souls Day, they would pick whatever day, and then they would go to Mass, and then after Mass they would parade through the village, and they'd take those big statues from church and stuff, and they parade through the village, and then afterwards they would go home with their families and eat, and they would celebrate. And then also, I remember growing up, you know, my mom lived here, and she would light tons of candles. So she'd say, well, this candle's for so-and-so, and this candle's for so-and-so, and she'd have them lighted all day. So, okay. So we've kind of blended this together. Now I'm going to get my hands dirty, okay, and make sure this, and the dough here is going to be a little bit sticky, okay, which is not a problem. All right, so your oven should be ready to go. And you just want to make sure it's all well combined, okay? So now we are going to start rolling these onto the cookie sheet. And then we are going to put all of this into the oven. And then the best part will be eating our cookies. And typically for me, I like to eat them with a cup of coffee or some hot tea. So these go well with chamomile tea, because back in Italy, in northern Italy, like in the Alps, there's tons of chamomile flowers, and you go pick them and then let them dry, and then you make hot tea out of them. Okay guys, there's no rhyme or reason. The reason why they're called bones, they don't have to look like a bone, but they're nothing fancy. okay? And once you put them, kind of shape them in a log, you want to just kind of flatten them up a bit. So you can make them bigger, you can make them smaller. There's also a recipe that you could make that people celebrate with. Instead of making the ossa, the morti, there's pane di morti, which is bread of the dead. So that's a whole nother recipe. But it kind of has the same feel to it. It's got different, okay, so we're going to get these on our cookie sheet, and then we're going to put them in the oven to bake, and then we'll be back. And we'll see how they taste. So traditionally, when we eat a feast, whether it's for All Saints Day or All Souls Day, or even if you're celebrating it together, we typically would leave an empty spot for our dear loved one who are in heaven, and we would wait and leave this even after we clear the table, in hopes that our family, our loved ones who have gone before us, come back and taste of the wine and taste of the water, and that is set before them. So that's just one of the traditions that happens in many cultures too, but in particular there was that culture in Italy that's what we did. So here are our cookies, fresh out of the oven. What I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to put our cookies here on this parchment paper to kind of cool off. And while these are cooling, I want to read to you a prayer for All Saints Day and All Souls Day. I think it's very important that we remember those who have gone before us, that have made a path for us, like open doors, you know, trailblazers. And I think it's important that we don't let these traditions and these feast days go without recognizing those who went on before us. So while these are cooling off, we're going to say a quick prayer, and then we're going to put we're going to put the cookies into a powdered sugar bag and kind of coat them with powdered sugar. So, but before we indulge in some wonderful bones here, we will have a prayer. A prayer to all the saints. Today, dear friends in heaven, we celebrate your feast. We celebrate again the feast of all the saints we know and whom we honor day by day through the year, but we also honor today all the saints in heaven whom we do not know. We cannot help but think on this day that not one of them lacks a model to follow in one of you. We look around us in the familiar persons and things and activities that fill our everyday lives. They are different from the persons, things, and activities that filled your lives. We have the same human nature, wounded by a sin of Adam and Eve, but strengthened marvelously by grace and fed and sanctified by the sacraments and prayer. We have exactly the same sacraments they had. We have the same Christ, the same Blessed Mother, the same trials, sickness, pain, temptations, joys, pleasures, and happiness through our crowded lives. then it must be true that with the same means, we should be able to work out our lives in the same holiness and sanctity as yours, dear saints. Help us to see the opportunities for holiness that fill our everyday lives. Obtain for us by your prayers the deep understanding and appreciation of spiritual things that were yours. Help us to see, too, in the beauty of the world in which we live in, some slight mirroring of the beauty which you now see as you gaze on God. But let us not be deceived into thinking that this is earthly beauty, this worldly pleasure, or an era itself. Let us use it wisely and moderately, our hearts always yearning to come at least to the final beauty and joy, the possession of God Himself in you, in heaven. Amen. So, what we're going to do now, I think they're pretty much all cooled off. So we're going to take our cookies. We're just going to take a few at a time. We're going to put them in the powdered sugar. And we are going to then place them on a plate to serve our wonderful guest. Okay, so we're just gonna, you guys, these are so good with a warm cup of coffee or tea, and this is all you do. So you just kind of, and what you can do is put them in a Ziploc bag, you know, the ones that are left over, which probably won't be that many, but you put them in a Ziploc bag or an airtight container, and they'll last for about a week, okay? But like I said, I doubt they'll even last that long because these are so good. And they're so easy, and they're fun, and you know, you can have your kids join in to help you do this as well, because you know how great it is to pass on family traditions to your children or your nieces or nephews, friends and neighbors. So that's what we have to do, and I think the saints that went before us would want us to do the same thing. So their memory can live on. Okay? So we are going to let those sit there a quick minute, and let's take a bite. So, this one looks good. They all look good. Okay. Crunchy on the outside, tasty and soft on the inside. Just enough of the orange zest, and oh so good. So you guys enjoy.